A slimmed-down Chris Moyles is one of the 12 stars to be taking part in this year's series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Now a presenter on alternative music station Radio X, the 48-year-old used to have the most coveted presenting gig on the UK's airwaves, fronting the BBC Radio 1 breakfast show. The Yorkshireman, who has lost an impressive 6 stone since 2018, held the position for 8 years. Sitting at radio's helm from 2004 until 2012, he became the longest-serving breakfast presenter on the station in the process, beating Tony Blackburn's 5-year record that was set in the early 1970s. In his time in front of the Radio 1 microphone, Moyles sparked a number of controversies, including how he handled his exit. Why did Chris Moyles leave Radio 1? In 2012, the BBC was reportedly under pressure to find a younger audience for Radio 1, with rumours circling for years beforehand that Chris Moyles was due to be replaced in the corporation's bid to bring the average listener age down. A year earlier, Moyles had signed a contract that would have kept him with the station until 2014. But only 12 months down the line, he was quitting Live on Air. How Chris Moyles quit Radio 1 putting on some sad music, he informed his listeners of his decision to leave the show. On July 11, 2012, Moyles told his listeners, "I wanted to tell you myself. I didn't want you to see it in the newspapers or on Twitter. A couple more months of us. Then it's someone else's turn. Thank you for listening." There had been pressure on the BBC to appeal to a younger audience after a report from the BBC Trust found there was a need to attract more under-30s. The average age of listener for Moyles' slot was 33. Moyles, speaking to The Sun in 2020, admitted that Radio 1 is a conveyor belt and that all DJs fall off it, because of age or not being relevant anymore. While commercial stations only need to satisfy advertisers, who help make up the bulk of their profits, that listener numbers are growing or at least steady, the BBC has another remit to satisfy. Because of the £159 annual licence fee, which households with a TV have to pay, the BBC's channels have certain remits they must adhere to, including reaching a variety of ages with its output. As part of this, Radio 1 is used by the corporation as a vehicle for reaching a younger audience to ensure value for money for all licence fee payers. Moyles was replaced by Nick Grimshaw on the morning slot. The day after Moyles announced his team were going, they pranked Grimshaw by having him on as a guest. The crew all left the studio halfway through the interview, leaving the newbie muttering "This is so cruel" into the mic. DJ Moyles was critical of the way the Beeb handled his departure in the years after. Speaking on Ross Kemp's podcast, The Kempcast, in August 2020, Moyles said, "I was a bit miffed that the story that went out was that I was too old and I had got fired. I knew I wasn't going to be doing that show forever. I thought they handled it really badly. Then when Grimshaw's show failed and the listening figures fell, I was like, not that effing easy, is it, boys? Not aimed at Nick but at Radio 1 in general." The show lost $1.5 million almost overnight. They didn't get them back. Tantrum Moyles was thought to be one of the best paid broadcasters in Britain during his career peak at Radio 1. At the time, he was thought to be on £630,000 a year. That didn't stop the Leeds raised personality from hitting out when his paychecks didn't arrive on time. In 2010, the self-proclaimed savior of Radio 1 launched a live attack on the BBC during his show over his wages. He claimed he had not been paid for 2 months and discussed it for 25 minutes on air.